Hello there, I'm Gary Sims from Android Authority. Now, some of the catchphrases that you hear a lot of today are artificial intelligence, machine learning, and neural networks. And they are often used interchangeably, but actually they're very separate, different things. So if you want to know what the differences are between artificial intelligence and machine learning, then please let me explain. Basically, it works like this. When a company is trying to sell a product, they call everything artificial intelligence. So my smartphone has artificial intelligence, your house has artificial intelligence. When they're talking to the engineers or talking about job descriptions, then they may put in the words machine learning. And then when it comes to actually writing some actual specifications, actually developing the technology, then they're probably going to be using neural networks. So let's have a look at what these three things are and see how really they're quite different, but of course very interconnected. We'll start with a simpler one, which is machine learning. Simpler in that it's simpler to define. Now, machine learning is the process by which a machine can learn from its experience. Now, I've got a whole video on this about what is machine learning, and I'll link it up here so you can go and watch that. Now, basically, machine learning in our context, like learning to recognize voice, learning to recognize images, learning to recognize text, is basically you take a data set, you feed it into a program that is capable of learning from that data set, and then at the output, it knows how to use and recognize things that fit inside that data set, even if they've never actually seen that specific example before. So you can teach the computer the word, hello, and you can say it in lots of different accents, in British accents like mine, and maybe in an American accent, and a sort of a south, deep in the south part of America, maybe from Scotland, maybe from Australia, and you can say hello in all these different ways. And because it's actually learnt these different formats of understanding the word hello, then it can understand hello when anybody says it all around the world. That's basically the idea. Now, the thing about machine learning is very, very specific. So if you teach a computer to recognize the word hello from America and with a British accent from Scotland and from Australia, that's great. But if you then say goodbye, it doesn't understand, doesn't recognize what you're trying to say. So let me give you an example. We've got this AlphaGo system that can play Go, the Chinese ancient game of Go, much better than any human player. Now, the point is that Go is played on a 19 by 19 board. Now, they trained up this program, they just taught it how to play Go. It played millions of games, and then it worked out how to play Go. But if they actually presented now this with a 20 by 20 board, the machine learning program would just fail. It would not know how to play Go. There's no creativity, there's no abstract thinking, there's no strategy, there's no like, oh, well, I know how to play this, I've seen it similar before in Go on a 19 by 19 board. But a human player, particularly one who's an expert at Go, would have a very good attempt at playing that game at a fairly high level. So machine learning is impressive when it's in a very particular thing, and it says, wow, this computer knows how to play Go, or this computer knows how to recognize voices. But if you give it something outside of what it's used to, then it just completely fails because it's a very specific application. Now, when it comes to neural networks are one of the key ways of doing deep learning today. So the idea is that it's modeled on the way our brain is thought to function, with the idea of neurons. And when the neurons are combining together, you can have a set of inputs, and then the signals from those inputs are propagated further on down the network if a certain threshold is met. And then that threshold can be tweaked and trained using a feedback system. So as you present it, it's kind of just all zeros at the beginning, it's just empty. And then as you present it data and as you tell it what the desired result is, it can kind of have this feedback, and it creates this ability to recognize things in a general pattern. And it's pattern recognition, that's a dog, that's the word hello, and so on, that gives it its power. But neural networks are not the only method of machine learning. There are lots of different algorithms that can be used for machine learning. However, neural networks are the ones that are being used maybe for the greatest benefit at the moment. Now, artificial intelligence is different. Artificial intelligence actually talks about the idea of being able to be creative, to have abstract thinking, to be able to analyze things inside a context. Now, I've got a whole video on artificial intelligence, which I will link up here. But basically, the thing we have to remember is that machine learning is very about pattern recognition, about seeing a particular situation, whereas artificial intelligence is being able to be intelligent about that. Now, of course, we could have a whole discussion about what intelligence is, but basically, you have to remember that a computer can exhibit the ideas of intelligence without being intelligent itself. The example that is often used is if you have a man inside of a room that has an infinite number of sort of dictionaries about Chinese Mandarin, and it has an infinite number of responses that it can give to any number of questions. And if you stick some Chinese Mandarin under the door of his room, he can pick it up, he can look it up in the book, and he can give you the reply. And you would be convinced that the man inside the room actually is fluent in speaking Mandarin, but in fact he's not. He's just looking up an input and giving you the appropriate output. So it exhibits the idea of intelligence without actually being intelligent. And then further on, we've got the idea that, of course, an AI is generalistic. So machine learning is very specific, but an AI would be generalistic. So if it was presented with a 20 by 20 Go board, it would have a good crack at saying, well, I can play this game. I've never seen it before, but I can play this game because I'm going to use my sort of abstract thinking, my strategy, my context here to work out what's going on. And then in AI, you've also got the idea of a weak AI and strong AI. Weak AI basically being a system that exhibits the ideas of intelligence, the characteristics of intelligence, without actually being self-aware, without actually being sentient. Whereas strong AI is the idea that some people believe that you can create a computer that actually forms its consciousness, it becomes self-aware, and that of course brings in the whole issues of morality and ethics, which actually we're going to look at in another video soon. So to recap, machine learning is an algorithm, a technique for recognizing patterns and then doing something according to those patterns, whether it be words, images, strategy games. It's just basically pattern recognition. If I was in this position before, what did I do that would lead me to a win? That's the strategy one. Or if I've seen this picture before, what does it look like? Well, it resembles another picture I've seen of a cat or a dog or a car or whatever. And neural networks are a part of machine learning in how you actually build the software to do that process of learning. Artificial intelligence, on the other hand, is the idea of exhibiting intelligence, which includes abstract thinking, creativity, strategy, context, which is much broader and much more generalistic. So some people even talk about it as general AI, general artificial intelligence. So although the marketing people will kind of talk about AI and machine learning and neural networks all in the same phrase, and they will just mix them all up, they are actually very specifically different things. Now, of course, neural networks are part of machine learning, and machine learning has to be part of AI, but they're not all exactly the same thing. So if you have a smartphone that claims it has AI because actually it's got machine learning, well, now you know different. I'm Gary Sims from Android Authority, and I really hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please do give it a thumbs up. Don't forget to subscribe to Android Authority's YouTube channel, hit that notification symbol so you always get told when we release a new video. And last but not least, do go over to androidauthority.com because we are your source for all things Android.